Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you are watching the GSL Talk Show. Tonight, we're going to get to know Miss Healey Ikerd, so stay tuned.
That I'm not the type of girl that go.
Yeah, it's a miracle, baby.
Wishing I would have a one night affair.
Welcome back to the GSL Talk Show. As you can see, I'm here with Miss Healey Ikerd. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome to the GSL Talk Show.
Thanks for having me.
She has me real proud, patting myself on the shoulder. She said I said her name right. Yay, to God be the glory.
It doesn't happen often, but you did both of them right. So awesome.
Woo-hoo. No, I totally understand because my full name is Miraculous, and so I've heard all the things. Of course, miraculous is what I get most of the time. I think the worst I ever heard was miraculous, which I'm like, you left out the A. There's nothing like, where did you get miraculous from? Like, so I try to say
Well,
people's names right.
it depends on your kindergarten teacher, your first grade teacher. Did they cover the vowels and all the sounds of the letters?
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
they
that's so true.
didn't, people struggle.
Ah, that's so true. Oh goodness. I'm sure we could go on and on about that. I would love to know. Do you know what the name Healey means?
I don't know what it means. I know where my
Okay.
parents got it. I mean, they knew
Oh,
somebody that had the name Healey, but you'll see it as
mm,
a last name quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought it would be funny if I married someone with the last name Healey because it is pretty common as a last name. And I thought that'd be Healey, Healey. Whoa.
It still works though. It still works. That is so funny. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, I guess not that I'm so deep into names or something, but I know that they mean things. And so I sometimes when I'm looking up stuff, I kind of like, so what does that mean? What does this mean? So just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
Now she's
I
always
don't
gonna go
know that
find
it has a
out.
meaning because I have looked before and like when I named my son, I made sure that it was had a good meaning and
Mhm.
yeah, so I'm sure people do that a lot more now than maybe they used to, but I
Yeah, I
don't know,
mean,
maybe
see,
they
it was
don't.
hard for me because my name was never anywhere. Now I know people say miracle a lot or whatever, but like with my name being miraculous, like there was never any. I couldn't go to get my keychain with my name on it or nothing. So I
Right.
did try to like look it up one time, and I'm like, there's nothing that says like what it means. But when I broke down, like, okay, miracle means this, and then the OUS phrase means like full of. So I'm like, full of wonder is what I came up with. So I'm like, I guess full of
Mhm.
wonder.
That's great. Well, that's true,
So
right?
sometimes, well, I mean, I'm trying to live up to it. I'm trying. I'm trying. Look, this ain't about me, Miss Healy. This supposed to be about you.
Well, I'm intrigued by names too. I think it's really cool and especially from the Bible. I mean, people
Mhm.
lived up to their names or down to them, whatever
Mhm.
the case may be. So,
Yes.
yep,
Look, that's a whole word by itself. Listen.
that's right. That's right. That's why it's important to, yeah, have good
Hmm.
things coming out.
Exactly. Look, they talk about the words and the power of the tongue. Yes.
Hmm.
So, I mean, Miss Healy, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from and whatever you want to share to get us kicked off here.
Okay. Well, my name is Healey, yeah. And I am currently in Northwest Arkansas. I'm a counselor, and so I have a private practice here. I am married and have a son and stepdaughter, and now just two new grandchildren. One's like 13 months, 14 months, and the other's just like 2 weeks. No, a week. Like it hasn't even been that long. So I'm a
Oh,
new grandma. Yeah.
oh,
So it's exciting. And
congratulations.
thank you. It's
That's
fun.
so
Yeah.
I bet
So
like grandparent life. I mean, y'all on a, it's different than parent life from what I'm seeing and observing. Now I don't know what I'm gonna do when that
yeah.
time comes, but
Yeah. I said God created a new heart. You just have
mm,
your heart like you can't imagine loving someone as much as your kids, but you do, because it's like from your own kids. So it's like this whole new level. It's really great. So, but they live outside St. Louis, and that's about 6 hours from where I live. So I don't get to see them quite as much as I would like. And my son has a stepson too, so I don't get to see him as much as I like, but I try to get up there as much as I can. So yeah.
Oh,
So that's
yeah.
yeah. We have my husband and I have a small little farm here outside of a town, and we love that being away from the hustle and bustle. Although I've liked it over the years, but so I
Hmm.
grew up in Oklahoma and went into the Army after graduation. I was in the Army Reserve, went to college, and then after I graduated there, I went to active duty Army and got another degree, got out, and worked on my counseling degree and got a license and all that. So, yeah, that about sums up my life.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service. I know
Thank
everybody's probably
you. You're welcome.
saying that, but yeah, thank you. I mean, that's one of the things I say often, especially here on GSL. I have a lot of time on just talking, and especially when I do the juice and daily inspiration, all this stuff. I'm always saying stuff. But one of the things I usually say is that the only ones I feel like that really could have a little bit of understanding of like what Christ went through is those that are in those positions of service, because you're literally putting your life on the line for other people. So
Mhm.
thank you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like the police and firefight. I mean, there are a
Yeah.
few other jobs that they put their life on the line too. And
Yes.
I often say, not everyone in the military gave up their life, but all were willing to. When
Mm.
you sign the line, you're willing to. And I suspect that's the same with police officers and firefighters and probably others that don't come to mind
Yes,
right
I
now.
do. Yeah, I do include
Yeah.
those in that as well.
Yeah.
It's just like other jobs. I mean, I guess to a certain extent, because with the craziness of the world, you just never know.
That is
But
true.
hmm, but
Yeah.
those you're actually signed up specifically because you know those are dangerous type of jobs. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
what made you get into the military and whatnot? Like, because I mean,
It's not normal,
the
but,
benefits.
let me tell you the inside scoop,
Okay.
which may not be as great. Well, my friend actually talked me into it. So I grew up in a
Mm,
very small town, and I was very just young, naive country girl, and, my friend was gonna go into the Army, and she talked me into doing it with her, although, um I I didn't go, like, to basic and stuff with her. I decided to do a little bit later, but, so I didn't really have a full concept of, well, like, what it all was when I signed up. Like, I knew, yes, I'm signing over my life in 8 years and, the whole thing, but
mhm,
I really didn't comprehend until I was in basic and all that, that I was really thinking, "Wow, I'm really in this," and the whole basic and, schooling afterwards was such a blessing in my life. God used that so much because not only was I naive, but I had a self-esteem probably the size of an ant. Like, I really
mm,
didn't think much of myself. So that whole process of going to basic and them kinda tearing you down and to build you back up helped me build not a whole bunch, but it did help me get more confident, like, "Wow, if I can do that, I can do this." And the military is a great place to kinda learn, what you can do, and they give you
mm,
opportunities to do that and kinda go up the different, ladder of ranking and ranks and all that just so that you
mm,
can, succeed. Like, you could basically do and be whatever you wanna be if your ethic, you know,
mm,
is there to get you there. So it was a great opportunity for me. And like I said, like I started off kind of naive and like if you've ever seen the old movie Private Benjamin, it may be way before your time, but that's kind of how I was. I was kind of oblivious to like the whole what are we doing here? But
mhm.
I did get there. I
Well,
finally
hey.
understood and I reenlisted and really I really embraced it to the level that I was able to at that time, so, yeah, it was good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know again. I feel like I was talking to my husband about this earlier that even the things that we think are, failures or whatever the case may be, everything is just getting you to where God wants you to be ultimately if you stay on route, right? you know,
Mhm.
um, and so yeah, I mean, it seems like that military experience, like you just said, was building you up or breaking you down, and and doing what it needed to do
Mhm.
to get you to where you are today and stuff. And so, sounds amazing. I know we can go on and on about that. I mean, because honestly, it's very interesting to hear about, like, different people and their experiences and what you get a chance to do and all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
am also curious because you mentioned this briefly, kind of skated over it a little bit. It seems like you now you're doing the home thing, but then you're on the farming. You're into farming and things of that nature. I'm wondering how deep you are into that, because I feel like I don't know. I feel like that's a big thing we might need to consider, with all the little groomers and things that we hear around the world. And like, I don't know if you're actually gardening. Do you actually have the animals? Like, what kind of farm are you talking about? Like,
Well, it's a small farm.
okay,
It's
okay,
just me and my husband. We have goats and chickens, and we do garden, and,
okay.
he is a hunter too, so
Oh,
our freezer is always full of deer.
hmm.
So no, hopefully no haters get on us for that. But
Well,
when COVID happened and the shelves were empty, we were feeling like, wow, like this could really sustain us if we had to. Um,
wow.
the fact because I was milking the goats at that time, and then we were getting the eggs, and so it was kind of nice to have some, at least not
Reinforcement.
too worried, yeah,
Yeah.
about, like, well, if since the most I don't know about where you were, but, like, our shelves were empty. Like, a lot of it was like the stuff nobody really liked was the only thing on the shelves, and so it was kind of satisfying in that aspect, and, I tell you, there's something about eating the food you grow that is very fulfilling. I don't know, it's
Yeah.
really yeah, nice. So, I even when we lived in town, I had a garden there too, because it's kind of fun to grow things, and I think it's almost, miraculous in the sense that you can take this tiny seed, and there's probably a sermon in there. You can take
Mm-hmm.
this seed that looks like nothing dead
Mm-hmm.
and plant it and put it in the right thing, and it just grows into something that's produces fruit and, sustains you, and, like, it's really awesome, and I'm just and the best kind of watering you can have is just rain.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a garden grow like nothing. Like, you can water all day with your little hose, but get the rain out there and that stuff will go like gangbusters. It's awesome. I don't know. I
I,
can just appreciate God in all those things,
yeah.
watching little baby goats be born. I mean, and then I
Uh,
think and then the mamas just know what to do. It's to me, the whole thing, chickens
mhm.
too, like, they hatch, they just yeah, it's all
I'm
pretty
sure.
cool.
Like, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'm like, I'm sure that's an amazing thing because I know me, okay, I'll just speak for me because I can't speak for everybody, but I really don't know much about any of that. I know my mom kind of grew up and, they had, I guess, the same type of experience of growing their own vegetables and, because their parents was doing those things. But, of course, we're all spoiled with the store and, and all this type of stuff. And then I don't know if you hear these type of rumors and stuff, but then people got things to say about, well, people shouldn't eat this and they shouldn't eat that. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, hold on, because listen, I'm going to bless my food and I'm going to eat it because at the end of the day, like, we can sit here and go back and forth and then struggle about, well, we can't eat anything because we don't know where
Right.
it came from, and we can't do anything about it because a lot of us don't know anything about the farming aspect, whether it's
Mhm.
the animals or the vegetables and things
Yep.
and the fruit. And so, I mean, not to say that that's a good thing. Like I was thinking, matter of fact, some recent guests that I spoke with not too long ago, we were kind of talking about this whole, end times talk and stuff like that. And I reflect a lot about the early church because it talks about how these people, they came together and they gave all and everybody had and everybody ate and things of that nature. And I'm like, well, what if we get to that point where we need that? Like, you have your farm, we got our whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? I mean, it seems like it's going that route according to the Bible. So that, I mean,
It's
and I'm like,
closer
but
than
I
it's
don't think
ever
any of
been.
us are prepared. Like we,
That's right.
Nobody's
Well,
prepared for that.
there's probably some good balance to that. You can kind of prepare, but I mean, on at the end of the day, we're called to trust the Lord, and
Yes.
um, I work a lot with people with anxiety, and that's how I say, like,
Mm,
you can balance that well. Like, if it's something that you have control over that you can make a plan for, then definitely do that. But we also have to trust God that He's going to help us, you know,
yes.
through whatever that somehow. But I mean, this is a great thing to envision, like the early church, like if something did happen that people could come together I can see Christians doing this more, so
Mhm.
that the Christians come together and support each other and share their food and share what they have I mean, I hope that's the way it would go,
Yeah, yeah, I
where
truly
we
hope
don't
so
get
too.
greedy and hold on to everything. Yeah. Fear
Exactly. I
does
hope
that
so
though.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think who knows, maybe the Lord's like, listen, maybe I need to humble y'all back so y'all can understand like what
Yeah.
people before us went through because that's people survive that way. And so something about the
Mhm.
fellowship, y'all. I something about the fellowship.
Mhm.
But anywho,
That is
I'm sure
that
you
is
just
right.
I'm sure you came to talk about counseling and whatnot, but I mean, it's just how it goes sometimes. I don't know, it's very intriguing in different people's lives and
Yeah.
where you are and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, not all of Arkansas farms. I mean, we have a lot of big cities, and so there are people that, even though people probably equate Arkansas with like a bunch of farmland, and maybe there's a lot, but not everybody can farm. But you can learn. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so I had some inkling, and that probably gave me a little bit confidence, like, oh, I could probably do this. But I do a lot of, reading and researching and stuff to figure out, okay, now what do I do here? Or how do I get
Mhm.
rid of bugs in the garden? Because I can't seem to get rid of those.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Awesome, man. I was
yeah.
gonna I guess my last thing about that is that one thing I've been considering is like, should I make a place that's, off grid, like, like that could be able to sustain and whatnot, like, because some people do that. They have the whole, and I guess they can just
Mhm.
sustain. They got the garden, they got the, I guess the water, even though is it illegal to gather rainwater? I don't know. Like, so
I
I have
think
no clue
so.
about what
I
that all
mean,
that would take.
who can
Yeah.
who can regulate rainwater?
I don't know.
I mean,
You hear
maybe
all
they
kinds of
can.
things.
The
Yeah, they
regulating
try to do
wind and
everything.
whatnot, yeah. So who knows? But
Yeah.
I would encourage you to plant something. Like you can
Mm,
do something in a pot. You can do a tomato plant in a pot and just see. I mean, that's a great thing to teach your kids
kinda
too, of
try it.
like how to take care of that. And then you can do a good biblical thing too of just planting a seed and then taking
Mm,
care of it. And I use the garden analogy a lot when I'm talking to couples about counseling, just
mm,
of how important it is to, it's a garden can go a little while once you plant and it grows and stuff. But if you're not out there like watering and pulling out the weeds and stuff, I mean, you can go a little while, but the longer you go, the bigger those weeds are and the more
mhm.
parched the ground is, and it's really hard to, once it's bad to get it back good. If you really want it to grow, you have to go out every day and do something. And we could probably apply that to our own lives too, of just, being in the word um,
Mhm.
and trusting him and pulling out the weeds in our own life, making sure they don't get too big. So
Listen, look, we on the same wavelength right here. Because I mean, people may know already about my book, The Cultivation Period, A Single Christian's Journey. I went through that whole thing. Now it's a whole nother thing being married. I might have to do part two. Who knows what the Lord's gonna do? But yeah, I'm with you on the whole gardening aspect, and I can definitely see even with just daily life and going through where you're like, we need to be cultivating, our
mhm,
marriage, motherhood, like all the things.
mhm,
Like we need to be paying attention to what's growing,
mhm.
what's trying to grow, all of that type of
Mhm.
stuff. So
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I did a long stint of, because when I was in the military, I, had a son out of wedlock, and, this was during my worldly period. I can tell you that story, but, um, But no, I don't even know where I was going with that. Um,
When you say you had a son out of wedlock, and you can go ahead, man. Because listen,
ah,
it's so good to be open, honest, and transparent. Because I talk about this all the time as well.
yeah.
People, we
Oh,
come to Christ and we think that you know what I'm saying? We're
yeah.
not perfect, you know.
That's right. And well, I can tell you that story, but I think that you know, cultivating like whatever season you're in, because I was single for a long time, and that's a whole I mean, I was for about with him about 15 years, and
Mm,
that was a really hard journey, but it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're married or single or whatever your life stage is, like cultivating that good soil so that you can be the good soil so the seeds can grow well, and weeding
mm,
out the plant, and all that.
mm-hmm.
It's really important to do that no matter what season that you're in. So, yeah,
Yeah.
married or not, we always need to be tending to the garden, so to
Yes.
speak. Yeah,
Yeah, especially
yeah.
again because the enemy is not playing with us. Like I've been really reflecting over that over the past few days of dealing with my own temptations and struggles and things like that. And I've been open again that I feel like over the past few months there's been just this ongoing back to back like different things going on in my life, and I'm like, Lord, and I feel like it's been like attack on marriage, attack on my child, my motherhood, attack on this, attack on that, attack. I think even this platform and things of that nature where you're like,
Mm.
obviously there's something around the corner for me because why am I going through all this back to back
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But like you said, I mean, it's where your heart is, and I feel like a lot of the times, at least what I'm noticing with me, is like I have to acknowledge like, okay, there's some things that's trying to grow, or there's some things that's trying to like uproot things, right, that have been established,
Mhm.
that God has established, for example, my marriage and things of that nature, where it's like, now am I gonna let that continue to grow and fester, or am I gonna chop that down and with the word of God, like, I was talking about
Yeah,
that this morning about choices. So I guess all of this stuff is just fresh. I say this all the time. God keeps doing this, putting amazing people in my life, and then it goes exactly what I got going on. So
yeah.
please, I would love to know, like,
Well,
how did you get into the marriage counseling, and what are you finding and helping and all of that?
well, I'll tell you a little about my faith journey,
Yes,
but,
yes, that
uh,
too.
I accepted Jesus as my savior when I was, very young at a vacation Bible school, and really, I think God has gifted me with the gift of faith, because I feel like I really believed all the time, and, like, faith came pretty easy for me. However, during, like, my parents divorced, the year before my senior year of high school, the summer before my senior year of high school, and that kind of ripped my world. My parents did argue a lot and stuff,
Mm,
which was already kind of yucky, but
mm,
divorce was not something that I had on my radar, and it kind of really broke me down. I didn't really have a great way to deal with that, and so my life,
mm,
I just started making really bad choices and trying to find fulfillment and things that I was missing in life. That event kind of triggered that. I started just seeking these other things to kind of fill me up,
mm,
and which then led to my son being born from, seeking out things. And
mhm,
when he I was going to a Bible study. I was stationed in Italy, and I was going to a Bible study, and we were studying Romans, and we got to the verse that says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And it was like, and I don't like to say God spoke to me, but I really felt like God was speaking to my heart and saying, "Healy, you really need to choose what road you're going to walk, like the world or me." And
mhm,
I said, "What are you talking?" Like, literally, I was thinking, "What are you talking about? Like, I'm walking on your road. Like, here I am at Bible study."
mhm,
um,
mhm,
and then I just had this vision thing, that, and I hate to say that because it sounds so,
mm,
but this picture came to mind, that of me trying to walk like two paths, and they were as you walk, they were kind of spread out. So you could walk them because they were alongside together for a while, and then they spread out. So you basically have to choose a path. And then I saw myself on a
Mm,
fence, like straddling both sides. And I
mm,
was like, "Oh my gosh," and God just began to show me, like, areas of my life that I had compromised, and I was just sick to my stomach because
mm,
I thought, "Oh my gosh, here I am thinking I'm following, and I've been justifying these decisions over here." It's just sickening. I was in the military, so I cursed a lot.
mm.
I had done, these little white lies. These are in quotes, little white
Mhm,
lies, just like things compromising, seeking love in places that God has not intended, and peace in places God has not intended, or just they were just temporary things. And, so he really worked on me a lot during that season, and, like, I'd get one thing down, and here would come another, like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so bad."
mm,
But, that's not the message God was giving me, that I was bad. He just wanted me to walk in holiness and not in this worldly place.
mhm,
And through that whole journey, I, was also studying in a degree called human relations, and in that curriculum, we had a few counseling classes of just learning how to counsel. I'm not sure
mm,
why I was in this program because it was a lot of leadership stuff, and I was
mm,
just wanting to get a master's degree, and that was one of the ones that they had in the, area, and I love human relations, so, it would seem like a perfect fit. And, but in that curriculum, um, we were doing some role playing things, and one of the instructors had said, "Wow, Healy, you're like pretty good at this. Have you ever thought about going into counseling?" And it was like, "Whoa, no." But am I good at it? Yay. And so when I really went down to think, like, it really made me think, and I thought, "Well, what kind of job would I like to really have?" Um, and I thought, I really do enjoy helping people. That has always been, like, people have, would come and talk to me, and I didn't really think too much of it, but as God kind of showed me this whole journey from way back, it was like, wow, I really do love to help people. I think I really do. So when I got out of the military, I kind of looked up, like, how do you become a counselor? And found we had a program near where I lived that kind of prepared you for the whole testing thing, to get a license. And so I did that program. So ended up, that was my second master's degree. Um, and, yeah, it was fun and a hard work because I was a single parent during that time, and,
mm,
but that's kind of what led me into counseling. It was like, I felt really at home once I mean, other than some imposter syndrome, as most new counselors have, um, it did feel at home, like, "Oh, I really feel like this is where God's led me to be." So in that program, I studied marriage and family therapy, and, just the individual counseling, so it was kind of a dual track. And, yeah, that's how I got into doing marriage counseling. I try not to do a whole lot now, um, just because this sounds weird, but because I am married, and sometimes those issues, and I'm very good at separating work and home, but when
mm,
other people have marriage issues, I've noticed that it does something to me, like, if they've had a
mm,
cheating incident, I suddenly become more suspicious, or if they've had
mm,
something, it was kind of, and that's one area of my counseling I haven't been able to kind of get real good separate, and I don't like that.
mm,
So
mm,
I limit what I do to help people because I don't want that stuff messing with my marriage. Marriage is hard enough.
look,
It's
I felt
this
you.
is what I say about marriage, like, God gave us the person that's going to rub us so hard, because this is how he works out holiness for us, is giving us
Mm,
something that really makes us struggle. And,
mm,
'cause, you know, singlehood has its own struggles, but you don't get to work on holiness like you do when you're married, because that's the only thing that's going to rub you like a little painful. And some people end up running from that, and that it kind of breaks my heart, because it's like God really is working through that. There's this great book called Sacred Marriage, and the concept of it is, what if marriage is about making us holy and not about making us happy? And that is, I mean, you can
Mhm.
testify to this, right? This is how the world looks
Mhm.
at marriage. This is he's she is gonna make me happy. And,
Mhm.
and then when that doesn't happen, because that's not what makes a person happy, like, God's using it to make us holy.
Mhm.
And if we can focus on that, it'll change our whole perspective and recognize if we want to be fulfilled in a happy way, we go to the Lord for that and not our spouse, because they can't do it, right?
Well, I done just spiritually fell out on the floor. You done
Oh,
just knocked me over.
sorry.
Uh, she just talking to me this whole time.
I'm preaching
It
to
ain't even for
myself there,
y'all.
folks.
Whoever's watching and listening, it ain't even for you at all. It's for me. It's for me.
It's for me too.
That's good. That's
I
so
have to remind
good. Like,
myself of that all the time.
everything you were just saying is just so good. I mean, it's good, and then it's also like hitting home in so many different ways. Because again, people that if y'all watch previous episodes with conversations I've had with previous people, I was just talking to a guest recently about the part about struggling with helping people, and that what you just said, like sometimes because it's like you're internalizing the things and you just want it so bad for people, but then they don't want to do, and then you're like, why won't it work? Why won't you do it? And and stuff like that. And it's like, no, I gotta, like I said, separate. I can't take on your stuff. I can't do
That's
that.
right.
Like, my
Yeah.
life is good. Like, you the one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of
Yeah.
the day, I can
Yeah.
do whatever I can to assist you, but I can't take it on. Like, and it seems like you want me to take it on. So I can come alongside. Like they say, come alongside. I can do that.
Mhm.
But you trying to get me to carry the whole thing? No, no, I can't do that. Like, so,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
We
then
and we
talking about
weren't
having,
designed to do that. I mean, God
yeah,
doesn't want us
yeah.
to do that. Like, that's why
Mm-hmm.
Jesus says, "Take my yoke."
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that takes the yoke. We don't take the yoke. And we weren't created to do that anyway. We can encourage and we can walk alongside, like you said, but yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
can't carry their stuff. And I think that's one of the most valuable things that I've heard to help me work when I'm counseling is, believing that Jesus is there and he's the one in the middle. He's
Yeah.
taken their stuff. I can help,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately he takes their stuff. I don't need to carry it
Exactly.
home. I can pray for them, but I don't, sit around going, "Oh my goodness, what are they going to do?" Like,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
is not that is not helpful for them, and it's not helpful for me, and not I'm not Jesus. Like, he was meant to
Exactly.
carry that stuff, not me.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a hard lesson to learn sometimes.
Man, I was just even reflecting yesterday. I'm like, again about me and my own situations and stuff. I'm like, Lord, help me to get to the place where to just accept that you are enough. Like, why am I trying to, you know what I mean? Thinking that okay, it needs to be you and this, and like, help me to just see you as enough. Because again,
Mhm.
He did it all, and it seems like we just want to do it ourselves. Like we just because even when I sit here and like reflect on different things in my life, I've been kind of questioning, like, am I in the right place doing the right thing? Even though I know I'm in the right place doing the right thing. Even you again are confirmation to me that I'm in the right place doing the right thing because everything is so in alignment that it's beyond me. I know that, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like, but I want what I want, and I don't have what I want, and I don't have this, and I don't have that, and I'm struggling, like, and stuff. So it's like, did I make the right decision? Am I in the right place? Did I marry the right person? All the different things that the enemy try to use to
Mhm.
attack, and alongside of the attacks that that's already happening. So it's like, that internal battle is real. And so counseling and therapy and all these things are great and important things that I feel like, well, one, people aren't using, and then two, either we feel like we don't need it or whatever the case may be. But I'm on this journey to do something different, at least in my life this year and whatever. That's what I said I was going to do. And one of the things I did start doing therapy and whatnot. And even though I feel like I've been joking about, well, really I just need you to fix stuff, you know. But it seems like I'm just there just talking or whatever. And sometimes you don't know whether that helps or not. But I can see how it has been. It's given me things to think about, things I probably never thought about,
Mhm.
and so I mean, yeah. What would you say to people that are kind of struggling with this idea of getting help? Getting therapy, getting counseling, getting your services and things like that you provide. Like, what would you have to say to people that are struggling in that area?
Well, I can understand that because it kinda makes us feel, weak, like we don't have it all together, and especially as Christians, we're like, "Well, Jesus should be enough. Why do I need someone else?"
Mhm.
It was funny when it wasn't long after I had my license that I had and I've gone through this thing many times. Am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? Like, what maybe this is totally I'm off. Um, but I always say, well, even if we are off, God's still with us. Like he'll guide us. We
Mhm.
don't have to worry about that.
Mhm.
But just knowing that well, I started praying about my own journey as a new counselor. I was like, is counseling even biblical? Like I'm not sure this counseling is even biblical, even though it's funny because I'm a
Mm.
Christian counselor. So, but
Ah,
we all have our struggles, and I think the enemy
mhm.
plants
Try
little
to.
dorky things that we actually entertain. But it was
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
though that God was so faithful, and I was reading because I normally read through the Bible every year, and
Mm.
he started just poking out every place that said counseling or counsel or counselor, and
Mhm.
there's quite a few, and I was like quite shocked
Mhm.
because I hadn't
Mhm.
really realized it. But even those people that God was with and guided very personally had counsel. Now, they didn't always
Mhm.
listen to that sometimes, but they
Mhm.
did, and it's looked more as a good thing that we and
Mhm.
just even thinking of that we have access to the wonderful counselor, why wouldn't we have a counselor with the same worldview as we have to help us
Mhm.
and to encourage us? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, there
Mhm.
probably are some bad ones out there, but I think that as you find someone that you trust and can talk with, I mean, and they can encourage and uplift and speak truth to you, which is a lot of what I do most of the time. It's not, I don't even know how deep technically I get, but sometimes just speaking truth to people is what they need to hear. And
Mhm.
why wouldn't that kind of counsel be good to have in your life? So, yeah, I
Mhm.
think you get the kind of counseling that you seek out. And normally, so if
Mhm.
you want some good Christian counseling, you'll have to seek out a Christian counselor. So,
Yes, listen, look, those people be trying to go with the itching ears, trying to go where they want it so they can get what they want to hear. Now you need the truth, like you need the
Mhm.
truth in
That's
love, but
right.
it's the truth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and
I
sometimes that hurts, but I think all good growth comes from some hurt or struggle. It's that is a good thing that, like, if you
mhm,
leave thinking, "Oh, that kind of rubbed me in a way that wasn't good," like, that's a
mhm,
good thing. That's where growth
mhm.
comes from.
It's like what you were saying about marriage as well, because like for example, even when you said that, it was just reminding me again about my own little struggles and whatnot. And I'm just like, maybe it was like over the weekend I was saying to God, because well, one, I've been trying to like whenever I'm feeling now, I'm trying to just take it to God first, because I think I've been kind of doing the thing where I'm like, let me go talk to this person, go talk to that person, people that I can trust or whatever the case may be, or take it to someone else that maybe I shouldn't even talk to at all, and stuff. And I'm like, no, I need to get out of that habit, and I need to go to God first about whatever my feelings is, whatever it is. I'm gonna try my best to be intentional about taking it to God first, whether I'm writing it down or whatever. And so I've been trying to do that and hold myself accountable with that this weekend. And I know right now this is going on, and and stuff. And so as I've been doing that, I feel like, well, one, I feel like I found more peace in with that, and and getting it out and saying, Lord, already, what's in my mind, the temptations, this, that, and stuff. And so that's been something, facing it all head on. But then I don't know, I guess it's just uh I guess I'm distracted by all the stuff. I'm sorry. But I know, but you were talking about the marriage situation. And so basically when it came to that, when you said that, and I guess what I can resonate with is, I guess, in real time seeing it that way. Because I was thinking to myself as I, for example, struggling about different aspects of it, maybe about my husband, that I'm like, if he only just did two things, we'd be fine, or
Exactly.
whatever, for example,
Right.
right? And then it's like, why didn't I just get with someone that already do these things? You know what I mean? Why did you put me with this person, Lord, or whatever, and all the things that
Mhm.
come into your heart and mind as you're struggling with those thoughts, or that little seed, or that the enemy tries to plant into your life. um but it's like you said, if God wants to make me more holy, what point is it to give me someone that does all the things and whatever, and then I wouldn't be doing any of the things I'm doing now, like including this, talking to you, including, I work with the church and I work with kids and stuff. So there was just different things over the weekend that was confirmation to me, like, you're in the right place, doing the right thing with the right person at the right time. Like, this is my plan, not yours. But we want
Mhm.
our own, like, we think we're in control because we have free will, but it's like, nah, you just need to get into alignment, whatever God wants. Like, I- you know, but it's a
Mhm.
struggle. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it's the easiest thing to do, because you're like, but I have my own ideas of what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think like so many people would be able to resonate with what you shared, because like everybody struggles with that in marriage. I mean, there may
Mm,
be some that don't, but the majority, I would say 95% do. And they
mhm,
understand, like, if they only did this one thing, like we would be better.
mhm,
But we also can look at that as an opportunity. Like, we could go, "Oh, look, a chance for me to grow, a chance for me to work on my holiness."
we got to
Um,
renew our mind. See, that's what he's
that's
talking
right,
about.
that's
Yes.
right. I mean, and I mean, I talk with people about that when like, if their anxiety is a perfect example of this, of like, don't run from the things that make you anxious. Like, face those
Mm,
things, because that
mm,
is what's going to help you overcome. Anxiety grows when we avoid what makes us anxious. It
mm,
shrinks when we face what makes us anxious. And that's
mm,
the same thing, but looking at, oh, wow, I get to, experience this feeling I don't like, and now I get the opportunity to work through it and prove that I can, because God says I can. And,
mm,
I think when we do the hard things and we maybe give up some of our grasp of, like, the thing that they should do that would make it
mhm,
alright, really we let that go and we trust God, like He's gonna help us get through this even if they don't do it like I want.
mm,
And to
mhm,
me, that really demonstrates trust in the Lord, when we can give up like what we want and trust. I trust God more than I trust my spouse. That
mm,
I trust him so much that even when my husband does the opposite of what I want, and he does that because he knows it gets on my nerves, that I trust God more than that. I trust him enough
mhm,
that I'm going to work through my own stuff. I'm gonna forgive him. I'm going to go to the Lord to get what I feel like I need. Um,
mhm,
I mean, that demonstrates trust, and that's what pleases God, right? Trust. That is throughout Scripture so much, that when His followers trusted Him, that pleased Him, and it's
mm,
like, wow, that's so exciting that we don't have to get everything perfect. Like, we're still going to
mm,
struggle every day with something, but that if we can
mhm,
somehow turn that back around to trust, that's powerful.
mhm,
I always tell people, like, when you're struggling with thoughts in your mind, do not beat yourself up about first thoughts that pop in your mind. You
mm,
concentrate on what the second thought is gonna be, and follow
mm,
that instead. Like, you come up and
mhm,
think, "Oh, my husband's such a whatever," that it's like, don't beat yourself up about that, just change that thought to go, "Thank you,
mhm,
Lord, for this man that's
mhm,
challenging me at every turn." Or whatever it is
yeah,
to make yourself feel, you know, better. Because
yeah,
yeah, we can't help what pops in our mind, but we can help whether we get on the train or not, you know? We don't wanna follow
mm,
that train down all, bad scenarios of, "They are such
mhm,
a loser, da, da, da," because the more that we, do that, the more resentment that'll build in our spirit, and bitterness, and then we can't see anything that they do as positive, everything's negative. like I'm preaching to the choir because, like, I, that's, I think when you're married, it's just a constant struggle, and like
Mm-hmm.
not and not beating ourselves up either when we struggle day to day with things. Like, just focus
Mm-hmm.
on, this is the struggle for today, and how am
Mm-hmm.
I going to overcome it? I don't have to look at 10 years down the road what's going to be the struggle. I could just work
Mm-hmm.
this today, and
Yeah.
do whatever it takes today to get through it, not worry about tomorrow, because that's a little bit overwhelming, and the Lord says not to do it anyway. So
Exactly. Honestly, like I said, even with the things I was going through recently, um, one thing that brought me, I guess, maybe some peace and joy, it was like, you know what, Lord, you're showing me why it was so important what you did. Like, why we need Jesus, like, why him going to the cross, why he had to do it. Because we're never going to be perfect. There's no way. Like,
mm-mm.
we all sin and falling short, and it doesn't matter what we try to do. It's like, well, I was like, I was doing so well and now I fall short again, or I did this, nothing, it's going to be something. And even if somebody that think, oh, I don't do any wrong, then there it is, that there's the wrong. So we, you know, so
That's right.
yeah, there's just nothing we can do. And in that regard, now that doesn't give us an excuse to keep doing stuff, okay? And to just,
Right.
because there's too much other growth and stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? You got to
Mhm.
get past another level and then get back to get, I guess, to wherever God wants us to be
Mhm.
spiritually and whatnot. So again, like you just said, that sharpening as the marriage might be doing, or pushing you to the next level of uh spiritual growth, or whatever the case may be, things that we don't see that as in the moment, because you were like, we just want what we wanted, or whatever
That's
it
right.
is,
That's right.
but yeah, I think that's one of the things, at least, like I said, and this is a recent thing for me, just over the weekend, I'm like, you're showing me again why you did what you did. So thank you. Thank you for doing what
Yeah.
you did. And,
Yeah.
and thank you for, thinking of us, because I see now there, this idea of perfection, he was the only one. He's it. That's it.
Mhm.
None of us meet the criteria at all.
That's
So
right. And if we, well, I normally said, like, it's like, let's seek excellence, let's not seek perfection. And if we could just reach excellent one day out of the week, then we're doing good. So
mm,
let's just strive for that, because and
mm,
and even reminding ourselves that what God's calling us to do, that's so hard, and that we kind of fight against and rebel against, like, that's what we want. Like, we want the end result anyway. So
mm-hmm.
I have just recently wrote a children's book, and it's about forgiveness. And
Oh,
excuse me, I was, one of the things I was saying, that, like, um, so the young girl had to forgive a friend for stealing her ball, and just it reminded me again of, like, forgiveness was so hard for her, but ultimately she wants to be a person of kindness and love and all that, because that's very fulfilling to be that kind of person. So
mm-hmm.
so to do the thing that's hard, which is forgive, it reinforces exactly who she wants to be anyway. So it's like,
Mm,
if we want to be this person, then we're going to have to go through the hard stuff. God doesn't just willy-nilly give us these commands, like, he's doing it for our own good. And ultimately,
mm,
those are the kind of people we desire to be anyway. So we don't have
mm.
to rebel against the commands. We can just embrace them. It's
Yeah,
I say
yeah,
that, like, tongue in cheek, but it's so, because at some level we do need to want to embrace it, because that is what's best for us, and
yeah.
to be
Want
the
to,
kind of
because
people
that's,
that we want to
yeah.
be anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's I don't know, it's just a beautiful conversation. I mean, I know we could go ahead and transition into your look, being an author and things of that nature. What else you got going on? What else you got cooking and whatnot over there? Like, tell us about your books and whatnot. I know it can't be just the one. I already know.
Well,
What
what
for now?
The one book that was hard journey to write was I wrote a book called Changing Your Feelings. And my
Mm,
premise from this is kind of what I preach in counseling. We are not to follow our feelings when we're making decisions in life. We follow God's truth and what we know is right and good, and not our feelings,
mm.
because they're so
That's good.
deceptive. And
Yes.
so, and kind of the motivation was, a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't change the way that I feel. I just feel what I feel." And I'm like,
That's what
that
they
is not
say.
true. We do it all the time. Like, let's say, for example, we're screaming on the way to church. Like, you walk
Mm-hmm.
in the church screaming, or you change your mood and you change your behaviors, right? That when
Mm,
we change our feelings, and especially our thoughts, we change how we feel. So we can
mm,
change the way that we feel. If we walk into a room and somebody starts laughing, like how we perceive that event, they're
mm-hmm.
laughing at me, that's going to make me feel bad about myself, or curious, like, what did I do? But if we assume that they're laughing at a joke they just heard, and I happen to walk in the room at the same time, and I think something different, like, oh, that must have been a funny joke, I'm going to go see what they're laughing at, that creates a whole different feeling in me. And
Mm,
so we being so aware of how we feel, so that we can work in the two other areas of changing our behaviors and changing our thoughts, it will change the way that we feel. So technically, we don't need to feel anything for any length of time. Now, God did give us emotions, and we should
mm,
feel them to an extent, but just like anything that He's given us, we have to have a balance of that. So, um,
mm.
that if we're feeling down or discouraged or whatever, that it's okay to feel that for a bit, but you want to be able to work yourself out of that if you can, and not stay in the slump. So I think a pity
Yes.
party's fine for a few minutes or 20 minutes or so, but then you better get yourself up, because that's not who God called you to be. Pitiful,
Exactly. That's it. Yes, that is
yeah.
good.
So
You make
my
me think about.
book is,
Oh,
yeah,
go ahead. I'm
it's called
sorry. Yeah,
Changing Your Feelings. It's mainly about, sorry, I got off. It's mainly
yeah.
about anxiety and worry, and how to conquer those in your life. And I wrote
Mm,
that the concepts are good for anger or depression or whatever, but I wrote it for anxiety and worry specifically, because I mean, I don't know if you hear about it a lot, but I know so many people that feel anxious at some point during their day, that's a
mm,
little bit more excessive than just the typical anxiety. So that's why I wrote it, so people could know that they can experience freedom from feeling anxious or panic or worry. So
mm. That's good. I mean, honestly, yeah, we gotta become more intentional about like taking control over yourself and your mind. Like that is one of my pet peeves, to hear people say something along the lines of like, uh, I can't change, or I can't do this or that. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you can. You just don't want to. Just say that. Just say you don't want to. Don't say you can't, because you can.
mhm.
It's like, I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what, Miracle, what you're doing is not in alignment with what you want in your life. So what are you gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was an easy thing to do. Apparently not. I try to tell other people about it, and then I'm like, why can't you just do it? Um, you say you want this, you're doing this. Can you try to do something else? Um, that's a whole other conversation. But anyway,
We could do
but
a part.
yes, I'm in agreement with you that, yeah, I mean, like, even for example, like I noticed at some point, it's easy to play the comparison game, like they say, especially on social media, right? You look at somebody else and you're like, they got this, they got that. And so when I noticed that myself doing that kind of thing, I was like, let me celebrate that person. You know what I'm saying? If I see somebody, they got something or they did something, congratulations. That's amazing. Look what this person did. At the end of the day, because when it's my time, I would love for people to, great job, whatever the case may be. Like, there's ways to shift our hearts and minds when it comes to the different issues. Rather than, again, allowing that thing, like you just said, to fester and grow. I mean, if you're gonna sit here and just look at somebody with envy and whatnot, and then covet and all that type of stuff, then that's gonna lead down a whole nother path. Why don't you celebrate that person? Why don't you talk to that person? Why don't you get to know that person? Hey, I see that you know how to do this X, Y, and Z. I've been wanting to know how to learn to do X, Y, and Z. Like, you just
Good.
never know, like, what you're holding up by I guess either holding it to yourself or allowing again the enemy to use you in that way. But that's a whole
Hmm. Yeah, I
conversation.
think that, that is a lot of what causes anxiety for people is their own, how they view themselves. Like, I
Mm,
can't do this, see how they're doing that, or I'm no good because look how they're succeeding. And so, even if it's not jealousy, it's just this comparison thing. And
mhm,
I really believe that when we can get a good concept of who we are, who God made us to be, and the story He's called us to walk, then we
mm,
can feel a lot more peace in our life, because that's where this comparison and jealousy comes from, because we look at their walk and think, oh, that's what should be doing, that's what I want to do, or whatever. And it's like, always go, and this, I think, is almost a minute by minute process of just going back to the Lord to go, oh, like, God, what is it that you want me to do? And what if it's less? What if it's not like that at all? What,
mhm,
they're doing all these great big things, and what if you just call me to walk quietly with you and
mhm,
be this quiet witness, that's not got all the things like the other person has. Like, wow, am I going to be satisfied with that? Because
mm,
technically I'm saying, God, you're my all in all, you're everything I need. But are you? Am I
right.
really wanting that journey instead of my own? Like, we really
Mm,
have to be content where God has called us. And that's sometimes hard, because
mhm,
especially in this day and age when we can see people's lives so much more than
mhm,
how we used to, because it used to be personally, and we didn't know that many people. Now we've got,
mhm.
all
Access
these
to so
people we
many.
can see their lives. That can sometimes be hard if God's called us on a different route, where we think that route's, oh, that looks so much better, but
Mm.
maybe we weren't created to be able to handle that in a healthy and holy way. At least
I
that's what the Lord's speaking to me lately.
listen.
I'll just
I'm
be a
right here
little
with you.
honest.
No, no, you're good. I'm right there with you. I'm in agreement because yeah, that can be a huge struggle, and I feel like a lot of us are going through that. And here's the other thing. I know we going on, but I'm curious to know, like, if you have any feedback for this. Like, I feel like um for example, again, like what you just said about all the different struggles that we can go through by comparing ourselves to others or whatever the case may be. And I've been finding that, okay, it's important for me to, again, like you just said, seek the Lord and ask him what it is that you want me to do, and things of that nature. But some people, it's like they're not acknowledging God at all, so then they just keep going and spiraling and whatnot. And then somebody over here like me or you is over here like, hey, just ask God and then get in alignment with what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? Versus thinking that, people got tunnel vision about what they think it should be and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, I think I just learned to, I mean, I know you hear the quote all the time, oh, tell God your plans if you want to make them laugh. You hear that. But I mean, in real life though, like, he has a plan for you. And I mean, I know I had to go through my journey to be like, okay, Lord, well, what is it you want me to do then? And then here I am today doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
When, maybe I thought that I would be on a Broadway or in a movie or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And sure, I still use those gifts and everything that honestly God has given me to do, but it may not look the way you thought. And I'm learning and I'm trying to, I guess, forward to other people that, hey, we got to learn to be okay with that and be okay with, again, what God called you to do, because everybody's part is important and play, we're
Mhm.
the body and all those different, ways to explain that to people. But for those people that just don't acknowledge God, like, how can we help them? Like, do you have anything how can we help these people? She's like, no, we ain't got nothing for them.
Well, because I was gonna say, okay, for the people that do follow God and that see their life different, like, we can encourage them. God loves you. And maybe we can use this for unbelievers too, but God loves you. And we have to remember this life is temporary and it's short. And He's got everything that we need. And we don't need to, like, this stuff's not going to fulfill us anyway. that it's only God. And if we can have an
Mhm.
eternal perspective instead of the temporary one, it can help us.
Mhm.
Like, I really want to be satisfied. If you give me nothing but you, I want to be satisfied with that. Now, how to
Mm.
convey that to unbelievers? Hmm. But I would say that the answer will always be Jesus, in that sense that you can seek and seek, and even if you're the biggest star in the world, or whatever you're seeking, that's only temporary. And this
Mhm.
life for all of us is like a little blip on the eternal spectrum. God's got a
Mhm.
great plan for us, and it
Mm.
may be here great, or it may just be great eternally. Well, we know it's going to be
Mm.
great there.
Yeah.
But our all of our plans is that we seek him and find our fulfillment in him. This stuff, no matter how big and how satisfying temporarily, it's not going to be satisfying long term. And that was my walk. I was trying to get satisfied and filled up in these worldly things. That
Mm.
doesn't fill. I will
Exactly.
always have been searching, and it doesn't even matter if it's good things,
Mhm.
ministry or education or a job or
Mhm.
family, like, it all falls short and it will never
Mhm.
be fulfilling. So, learning that we're only fulfilled when we follow Jesus and seek the Lord and all that he has to give us. And he'll give us what really matters. And it may not be a great big old plan. And I think we'll really know when we get there is when we don't even care the plan. Like, we don't even,
Mm.
like, I just want you, Lord. That's all I want.
Mm.
Forget the
Mm.
plan.
Yeah.
I'm not there
Yeah.
yet, but that's where I want to be. I want
Yeah.
to be in a place where I just want you, God. That's all I want.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
all this other
Look,
stuff, it's like, it feels good, but it's so temporary.
yes. Look, look.
Mm,
If I'm gonna show you how divine this is. You ready?
mhm.
This is y'all should choose.
Oh, wow, they got a water called Eternal. You would know that.
I didn't even know. Like, first of all, look, because you kept saying it, I was like, wait a minute, wait.
Did I see it somewhere?
I'm like, here's a reminder, y'all. Look, eternal.
Whoa.
Pick the one. Pick eternal. Look, you can't make stuff up, man. You
Oh,
cannot.
man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, reminder of what you need to be choosing tonight. What we all need to be choosing tonight.
Choose the living water called Eternal.
Listen, look, in real life, yes, there you go. Man, wow. Anywho,
That's
yes,
crazy.
it's crazy, right? And I almost didn't have no water. Remember, because I was like, girl, I ain't even bringing my water in here. And
It's like, go grab
I
the
was gonna,
Eternal.
and I was gonna, like, I was gonna go without. I was gonna be like, I'll be all right. Then I was like, man. And then you saw a call girl. I was like, and I usually don't even do that. I'm gonna go anyway.
Oh
That's crazy.
my gosh,
Oh,
that's a good reminder, though. It's like, man, when
you choosing
I
everything.
grab the water, grab the living water, grab the eternal, not the temporary. I mean, this fulfills temporarily, but
Hmm.
only the living water fulfills what we really need. It really is the only
Exactly.
thing that quenches our thirst. So we think it's all these other things, but it's really just him.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I've come to find, and so
Yeah.
I sympathize with those that are struggling in that area because if I'm like I don't not to say that of course because again you see on the flip side like people have all the success and and stuff and you think like these are the ones that are blessed but then you see all the turmoil and whatnot they're going through. We're hearing in the news they then did this and that, and it's just I think what you were saying and even what I've experienced is saying that like hey, you can't fill God's void with anything else. We keep trying,
Hmm.
but it doesn't lead it go anywhere. Um, so
Yeah. He's
yeah, I don't know
created
how they're
us
making
for
it.
him. Yeah, he's created us for him. And so that is
Mm,
technically the only thing that would fill us is him. And the
yeah.
rest is just, you know, dirty water or something. I don't know.
So don't
But
even
the
talk
rest
about
is not
that.
going to fulfill because we were created for him. So like what,
Hmm.
like when you're created for something, that's really the best use of the vessel.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just, but it's just like the words say, right? It's like with the pot asking, saying, "Why'd you make me this way?"
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
made me wrong, or all the things that. It's just so interesting to me. Again, everything is really in the Word of God. Like I know people joke about that. People say that all the time. There's no guide to life. Yeah, it is. It's the Bible because every time I look inside, you
There's
can ask them
something
pretty much any
convicting in it.
question.
Right.
It's there. It's really there and addressed. And so, but anyway, people don't want to receive it. And God gave us free will, and that's one thing I joke or ask God about all the time. I'm like, so why'd you give us the free will? Because you see what we do. Like, I mean, I don't understand
But
why you gave it to us. I
but would
do
love,
understand,
yes,
but
I said,
yeah,
but would love be love if it were if we were forced to give it. It's like our kids when we
yeah,
tell them to give us a hug versus when they just walk up and give it to us. Like
hmm,
that is uh, the bomb.
yeah,
When they
yeah,
just walk up and say, "I love you," or whatever it is, like that's to me the essence of free will. That's why we have
hmm,
it. It's because
yeah,
you can only really show love when it's free to, share it, not like you have to love
forced
me.
to,
And because
yeah,
who wants to love someone that's like, love me, hug
right,
me?
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Girl, I know I can sit here and talk to you all day. I don't know. Do you want to tell us about any other of your other endeavors or things like that? Feel free. Anything you would like to share with us before you go,
Well,
feel free. And also share your social media, how we can get in touch with you
okay.
too.
Well, my book is called Changing Your Feelings. It is a workbook for anxiety
Mhm.
and worry. So it's not just one that you read and are done, like you literally work through it. And
Thank
I've
you.
heard really good feedback from people that have actually worked through it, that it has been helpful. So that's good. I always want to hear,
Hey.
some good. And then then my new children's book is called The Red Ball, and that's
Oh.
on just like Changing Your Feelings. It's on all the online realtors, retailers, and that is a story about forgiveness and friendship. And like I said, it was inspired by a story from my mom. She grew up in East Germany. I don't want to get too far on that, but it was kind of inspired by that. And then I just worked in the message of forgiveness and the
Mm-hmm.
importance of it and why we need to do it, whether we're children or adults. And so, yeah, and I'm working on a couple other projects. I'm working on a devotional based on identity and trying to create something for people to really get down into who God's created them to be. Because I really believe if you can understand that, it helps so much in life that
Mm-hmm.
we don't need to be easily offended about things. I've like it just changes a lot about our life. So, and then I've got
Mm-hmm.
another children's book I'm working on. Well, maybe a couple, but yeah. So that's people can
Yeah.
reach me on Facebook. I'm under written by Healey, Healey. Oh, you can see it. And um, on Facebook and Instagram. Those are, and then my website's by the same name, writtenbyhealey.com. And yeah, I'm not a big, or, everybody likes and followers and all that. But I'm really like, I've just kind of told myself I'll write when I'm writing. So my blogs are very irregular. My posts are very irregular. Because I'm trying to do exactly like what we talked about is like trying to not care about that, but just seek the Lord in all things. So whether my
Mm-hmm.
books sell or, I have a lot of reviews or all that stuff, like, Lord, I just want you and just take care of the rest of the stuff. If you want to use it, great.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I've just try to be obedient and seek you. And I'm not perfect at that, but that's what I strive to do. But that's a struggle, but
I understand, but we're humans and
that's
God
right.
made us this way.
Yeah, that's right. We're doing the best that we can, and that's what I like. Yes, our hearts aren't, you know, great that we can follow them just willy-nilly. Like, we have to set our mind on the good things that God wants us to do and believe and trust, and that's Him. So
Mm.
that's a daily, and I think, like, really moment by moment thing, because it's, yeah, I have to do that all day long, not just
Yes,
every morning.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
I truly enjoyed this conversation.
Mm. I've
I
enjoyed
appreciate you
talking to
coming.
you. Yeah, hopefully we can chat again sometime.
Yes, it sounds like we're gonna have some amazing things to talk about. So yes, you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed meeting you. So thanks for having me on your show, and I'm glad we had a good talk.
Wishing I would have a one night affair.
Thank you so much for watching the GSL Talk Show, and thank you to Miss Ikerd for joining us tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed this conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Check out Miss Healey's books and the rest of her endeavors. Have a good night.